Let's start with the latest allegation that has come from YP Singh, a former IPS officer, who held a press conference yesterday, and he says that you and he worked together on unearthing evidence against Sharad Pawar. You collected more than 80% of the evidence that he presented, but at the last minute you backed out.
That's not right.
Why is that?
That's not right. In fact, it was in first week of May or something, or second week of May, that he showed this evidence to us. This evidence was already in public domain for some time, that Krishna Valley Development Corporation had given land to
You're saying that this is old evidence which was already out there.
Firstly, it was out. Secondly, when he gave this evidence, we used this evidence. On 25th May, if you remember, we presented evidence against 15 ministers. In that, Sharad Pawarji was also one of them.
So the evidence that he presented in his press conference yesterday, you said that you used it in your evidence when you presented a dossier against a number of cabinet ministers.
On 25th May. And he knows about it because he vetted the content of these 15 ministers. It's all there on our website. It's there in the videos. I sat on Anshan on 25th July demanding a special investigative team against Sharad Pawar on the basis of this evidence. So I really don't know why he's making these accusations.
Is it because you didn't give him credit
for
that evidence? But did you give him credit for producing that evidence?
We said that at that time, because it was 15 ministers, we were a little scared that we should not say anything which is irresponsible or there is less evidence. So we made a panel. Panel consisted of Admiral Tahiliani, Mr. YP Singh, and one retired judge who doesn't want to be named. So these three people weighed that evidence and they vetted the content. So we publicly announced that Mr. YP Singh and Mr. Admiral Tahiliani have been a part of this entire exercise.
He says you did this to advance your political career.
How? I mean, anyone can make any accusations. How?
The allegation being, I'm assuming here, the allegation being that because Sharad Pawar is somebody who is a powerful politician, he seems to be suggesting that there was some reason that you didn't want to act against Sharad Pawar.
So I am in collusion with Sharad Pawar.
That seems to be the insinuation.
But that's hilarious. I mean, in collusion with Sharad Pawar, why? There's absolutely no evidence of that. I mean, especially we have already used that evidence against Sharad Pawar. I sat on an Anshan against Sharad Pawar.
He also compared you to Adolf Hitler.
You can compare me to anything, anyone. No evidence, nothing.
But were you hurt or upset when you heard YP Singh making those allegations?
I'm upset because I have very high regards for him. He's done a very good job. He's sacrificed his job. He was an ace CBI officer. And now also he takes up many public interest cases. So I am a little...
so why would he turn on you like
I
this?
Really don't
if you were both, as you said, fellow travelers, why is he feeling aggrieved? Why is he feeling somehow left out?
I still have a lot of respect for him. I really don't know why is he doing that.
But the core of your argument is that you felt that this was largely old evidence, which is why you chose to present it in a dossier as opposed to doing a separate press conference, like in your part of your name and shame
we have started
strategy.
Doing it now. You see,
you didn't feel that the evidence against Sharad Pawar was worth doing a full separate press conference on Sharad Pawar?
At that time, we presented 15 ministers, 15 cabinet ministers. We were trying to show that half of this cabinet is corrupt, against whom there is so much of evidence. That's why they are not passing Lokpal bill. It was a part of that strategy. Now our strategy is to show that across party lines, they are all corrupt. So we are not picking up leaders from the same parties.
So that was the only reason to not do a separate focus on Sharad Pawar. But it's not for any other reason. It's not for any other reason that YP Singh seems to be suggesting that it's an act of political opportunism or you're playing it safe with Sharad Pawar.
You see, it's a very difficult situation. If we do it for Mr. Sharad Pawar, someone would say, why not Kamal Nath? If we do it for Kamal Nath, they would say, why not for this? Because there are a lot of people who are sending so much of material to us. We are gathering that evidence, verifying that evidence. Now there is no end to it. That someone would say, why not this? Why did you do this first? Why didn't you do that?
But I think the point you made at the beginning is important. You're saying that much of the evidence that YP Singh brought to you at that time.
We presented that. Yeah, I sat on Anshan.
But you also felt was already in the public domain.
Exactly. It was in public domain. It's a part of a PIL that he himself has filed in the court. It's a part of, we were a part of, both of us, along with Mr. Mushrif, were a part of a public hearing that Medha Patkarji had organized.
Right.
We were all together. So it's 3 years, 4 years old evidence.
Now, when you talk of old evidence, the same allegation can be made of the evidence you presented against Mr. Gadkari. Several people felt that that also was old evidence.
Correct, that's possible. But as I said, firstly...
But then isn't that contradicting yourself? If you're comfortable with presenting old evidence against Gadkari, then why not against Sharad Pawar?
As I said, on 25th May, against 15 ministers, when we presented the evidence, we presented that evidence also, number one. Number two is, at that time, I don't think against those 15 ministers we presented something new. We did not do any expose in that sense.
Right.
What we did was we collected all the material that was available in public domain against each of those ministers.
And presented it.
And presented it before the public to give a holistic picture how corrupt they are.
Okay.
Now, as far as Nitin Gadkari ji was concerned, this evidence that was presented by us was done by 1 or 2 media houses. It was locally, people knew about it. Locally, local media had picked it up. Nationally, for national this thing, it was a new evidence.
That's not entirely true, because the fact that he's a businessman is something that has been widely reported. The fact that he's involved in power projects which are possibly diverting water meant for irrigation has also been reported by the national media. We ourselves have done a detailed expose on it about 5 or 6 months ago. Tehelka has done a detailed report on it, 2 that I know of. There could be several more. So, even the letter that he wrote saying that money that is meant for the Ghosikod contractors should be released is again something we had broken as a story about 10 days ago. So, a bulk of what you brought out on Nitin Gadkari was not new.
VIDC resolution, did you break that story? That VIDC resolution, such and such. You see, 2 things are there. One is
the VIDC resolution. The fact that the farmer, you're referring to the fact that when land was given to Mr. Gadkari at the intervention of the VIDC, at the intervention of Sharad Pawar, you're saying that part of Ajit Pawar, that is the new part.
That is the clinching evidence. We can keep on making, for instance, I can keep on saying, there is a lot of political corruption, there is a lot of political corruption.
Right.
But when Tehelka catches Bangaru Lakshman counting notes on TV camera, that makes the people angry. So in this particular case, though everyone was saying that Mr. Gadkari is a businessman, he is diverting the irrigation water, etc., etc. But when I saw that VIDC resolution, I was personally shocked. And that is the reason we thought that was far more serious than even Robert Vadra. In Robert Vadra's case,
right.
Robert Vadra ditched it was a deal between DLF and Robert Vadra of the land that we had exposed was less than 100 acres.
Okay.
It was land which was bought by him from DLF at a concessional rate. Here this Mr. Gadkari is duping poor farmers. He took away their land, he took away their water and left them with nothing.
Now, even on this, YP Singh actually challenges you and says that there's an apex court order which says that land taken away from farmers cannot be returned to them. It has to be auctioned.
Yes, it was not auctioned. That is the point. It was given away, doled out to Mr. Gadkari. It was not auctioned. That is what we are saying.
So you're saying that's the crux of the new evidence you brought against Gadkari, even if there was a lot of other information which was not necessarily new.
Yeah, that was not necessarily new. We brought out evidence of exact quid pro quo. That Mr. Gadkari was clearly favored by Mr. Ajit Pawar. On 4th June, Mr. Gadkari writes a letter to Mr. Ajit Pawar that give this land to me.
But what's the quid pro quo there, Arvind?
So this is one evidence that we could catch. This is going on all across Maharashtra. And that is the reason Mr. Gadkari says, "Char kaam wo hamare karte hain, char kaam hum karte."
But that's an allegation. That's an allegation which is not accepted. That's an allegation made by one of your members.
Don't accept this. Has Mr. Nitin Gadkari made a single statement against Mr. Ajit Pawar? Has he made a single statement against Mr. Just one second.
The BJP says that they have gone to court in the irrigation scam.
Mr.
2 of its leaders are fighting a case in court.
Exactly. It is the middle level, the junior workers who are doing it. And Mr. Nitin Gadkari at the top.
Are you suggesting there's a split within the BJP?
There is, the top leaders of most of these parties are collusion with each other. You talk to the ground level workers, they are all disillusioned with these parties.
The fact that many people felt across the board that the evidence against Nitin Gadkari was not thunderously new or as damning as the kind of evidence that you produced earlier against Robert Vadra led to the allegation that you were somehow team B of BJP?
Congress says we are team B of BJP, BJP says we are team B of Congress. I think we are team B of the people of this country.
No, but would you at least concede, Arvind, that when it comes to this idea of name and shame, the logic behind that was that you will name politicians around whom there is a conspiracy of silence or a code of silence. Now, that is not the case with Nitin Gadkari. I mean, Digvijay Singh is faced with a defamation suit by Nitin Gadkari because he's made similar allegations against him as a businessman.
That is your assumption. That is your assumption.
No, that's a fact. That's something which Mr. Gadkari has said and he has followed that.
Your assumption about us is that we would only target people around whom there is a conspiracy of silence.
No, that's not my assumption. That's what you said.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay, but that's what the India Against Corruption has said. That you want to break the conspiracy of silence or the consensus of silence against certain politicians.
Let me make it very clear. What is the purpose of this entire exercise? Twofold. Our purpose is not to do exposes. We are not the Assanges of India. We are not in that business. Our purpose is, number one, that we want to expose to the entire country that each one of these political parties are corrupt, the entire political establishment is corrupt, and they are in collusion with each other, in hand in gloves with each other. For instance, just one second.
Is that a slightly different brief from what we've been hearing from all of you, where you were saying that essentially the idea behind this is that certain political parties, certain politicians and political parties are not named because of this conspiracy of silence, that you don't name Robert Vadra, we will not name Ranjan Bhattacharya. So we will spare these people.
Yes.
Everyone else, it's open season. Now that makes sense. You could use that to justify the expose on Robert Vadra. But that's why many were surprised when you named Nitin Gadkari. Right. Because Nitin Gadkari doesn't enjoy any such immunity. He is targeted across the board by the Congress. He is targeted across the board by other parties opposed to the BJP.
I'll just come to that. Let me come
He's targeted by the media. Media has done a lot of reporting on him, which is why people were surprised at the choice.
So let me complete now.
Okay.
Now, that is the purpose, and I'll explain how that purpose has been served. The purpose is to show across the board that they are all in hand in gloves with each other. They collude with each other. They give contracts to each other. Whoever's party is in power, you give contracts to each other, and you don't actually take any effective action against each other. You would abuse each other, but you will not take any effective action against each other.
Okay, so that's the main assumption.
Let me just complete.
Yeah.
That is the first objective. The second objective is that the people of this country are scared. The second objective is to take the fear out of the people of this country. Now, many people
scared of what?
Naming anyone. The people.
But I'm sorry to interrupt. But what is the fear about naming someone like Mr. Gadkari? What would that fear be? Because
it's not just about Nitin Gadkari. The people of this country are I'm not talking of just Nitin Gadkari. I'm talking of this entire exercise. Why are we doing this exercise? Because the people of this country are very scared कि हमारा कुछ भी कर देंगे. For instance, this entire Bijli campaign that we did.
Okay, I want to come to the Bijli campaign in a second, but just staying with this, do you feel overall that
I want to make one more point, one small point, one point. When we exposed Robert Vadra, that night I got a phone call from two editor-in-chiefs who said that we had all this evidence, but we did not have the courage to take it up.
Okay, I'll come to Robert Vadra.
Number two, as soon as we did Robert Vadra, Sharad Yadav came to his rescue. I thought he was in opposition. Akhilesh Yadav came to his rescue. Sharad Pawar, and today Sharad Pawar is coming to Nitin Gadkari's rescue. They are in opposite parties.
I'll come to Robert Vadra in just a second, but I want to ask you overall about Nitin Gadkari. Do you feel that you would have liked to research it better and come out with something which is more substantial? Do you feel that you perhaps jumped the gun a little bit with him?
No, we didn't do that.
No regrets?
No regrets. Let me explain it. If you give me time, I'll explain it.
Okay.
It's not our job. It's not our responsibility to clean up this country. All of us have to do it together. And we have initiated the process. For instance, in the Robert Vadra's case, we initiated the process after that the media has picked it up. The people have, many farmers came to us, they gave us evidence. Now, since we did Nitin Gadkari, many more evidences are coming out.
Right.
We may have another expose on him in a few days. So, we have initiated this process. Wait for a few days and you would see that many more media houses are going to do it.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.